Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So this evening, I was told by Bhante Sankicha to offer this Dhammadesana in English. It's snowing right now, so I kind of uncovered the curtains behind me to try to capture it. But because of light, I think I cannot really get the snow experience into the talk. But all of us are here in Michigan. I think you all can see the snow just outside your window. And that's just a nice experience. If we have great meditation powers, those who really know this, this is about those rishis, the masterminds who have mastered their mind. They are able to withstand any temperature. They stay in the cold, in snow, and they even take showers. So this is a skill required for those people who have the ability to generate heat within the body so that they can adjust to any temperature without any difficulty. Anyway, that's just a different subject. This evening, I like that there is another Dhamma talk being given by Mavrale Bhattya Hamdugo, Venerable Dr. Mavrale Bhattya. He is joining us at 4, and before that, we are here within, I think, 1 hour and a half time frame to talk Dhamma. This will be in discussion form, and I like if you join me. And we have a bit of a story to unwrap and talk about. This is from the Majjhima Nikaya. I have the Majjhima Nikaya here. If you have the book, please take it. This is on page 669 of Majjhima Nikaya. The book says this is donated by Chandrapala Chandratilaka family, and you are joining right now. So Ghatikara is a potter. This is Sutra number 81. This will be mostly story type, and we have about 4 pages to go on either side, and I'll try to stop in some places and get most of it within this one hour and a half time we have. On one occasion, the Blessed One was wandering among the Kosalans together with a large sangha of bhikkhus. This is when the Buddha was traveling in Kosala. Then the Blessed One left the main road. At a certain place, he smiled. It occurred to the Venerable Ananda, what is the reason? What is the cause for the Blessed One's smile? Tathagatas do not smile for no reason. Now, earlier it said that the Bhagava, the Blessed One, was wandering in Kosalans, and all of a sudden it changed to Tathagatas. Tathagatas do not smile for no reason. Everybody has a reason to smile. Now, this is particularly on Tathagatas. The word Tathagata is translated into English as the thus gone one, the one who has traveled the path this way, and he has proclaimed that he has traveled the path this way, and he teaches the path, and he's not off the track. He's always on that track, on the right track. Now, Venerable Ananda is attending closely to the Buddha, and it is his request when he was appointed as the attendant monk to be able to ask any question anytime. So the Buddha granted his request. And let us see if he make use of that opportunity. So he arranged his upper robe on one shoulder and extending his hands in reverential salutation towards the Buddha, asked him. So arranging his upper robe, there is this robe that he puts on top of this robe. This will be used as a sitting cloth sometimes, and also like a blanket if you are sleeping in humid weather under mosquitoes. This will protect you. Also because it has these dyeing colors, the powders that work like a mosquito repellent. And he does ask the question, Venerable Sir, what is the reason, what is the cause for the Blessed One's smile? Tathagatas do not smile for no reason. So he does ask the question, why, I noticed you smiled, and what is the reason for it? Once Ananda, now the Buddha is responding, in this place there was a prosperous and busy market town called Vebalinga. The name of this town is Vebalinga. It was very prosperous and busy, with many inhabitants and crowded with people. Just imagine a place like New York City or Tokyo, very busy, prosperous, inhabited by many people. Now, this is a pastime story. I mean, in the past, this belongs in the past. Now, it sounds like this town does not exist there. At the time, the Buddha stopped there with Venerable Ananda. So this happened. Now the Blessed One, Kassapa. So this was during the time of Buddha Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, lived near the market town Vebalinga. So the past Buddha Kassapa has lived near Vebalinga. It was here, in fact, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, had his monastery. It was here, in fact, that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, sat and advised the Sangha of bhikkhus. Now, the Buddha is having kind of a flash memory, or not really. He's just like recalling an event in the past using one of his abilities. He's able to go back. He's a time traveler in his abilities. Go back to a past period, an eon in which the Buddha Kassapa lived. Buddha Kassapa, Buddha Konagamana, and all the recent Buddhas. And he's recalling Buddha Kassapa's time. And many of these Buddhas, I think 7 of them, were born within this eon, in which the great universe is in an evolving and dissolving period, and in which period the earth comes to be, and then Buddhas appear, and humans continue on flourishing, and we also experience other Buddhas, and then other Buddhas and other Buddhas. It goes on, and it came down to the Buddha Gotama. Now, Venerable Ananda here is attending the Buddha Gotama and asking this question, and asking why you smiled, and the Buddha is responding that Buddha Kassapa lived near Vebalinga, he had his monastery, and in that monastery, he advised the venerable monks right here in this place. It was a busy place. So it shows that the Buddhas weren't living always in forest. They came back to advise the people. They lived in the vicinity or near the towns, in suburbs, at least close to where people live, so they could help as many people as possible. The Blessed One sat down on the seat that had been made ready and addressed the Venerable Ananda thus. Once, Ananda, in this place, there was a prosperous and busy market town called Vebalinga, with many inhabitants and crowded with people. Now the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, lived near the market town Vebalinga. It was here, in fact, that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, had his monastery. It was here, in fact, that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, sat and advised the Sangha of Bhikkhus. So he's repeating what he had just said. In Vebalinga, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, had as a supporter, as his chief supporter, a potter named Ghatikara. So Ghatikara is it's a designation, not a proper name. Ghatikara, the name means pot maker. So Bhikkhu Bodhi translates it as potter. So the Buddha Kassapa had him as a great supporter. Ghatikara, the potter, had as a friend, as his close friend, a Brahmin student named Jyotipala. So this Ghatikara had a Brahmin student. So he was a student and he was a Brahmin, and his name was Jyotipala. Now we are seeing five characters here. We have our Buddha Gotama, we have Venerable Ananda, we have Buddha Kassapa, we have Ghatikara and his friend Jyotipala. One day, the potter Ghatikara addressed the Brahmin student Jyotipala thus: My dear Jyotipala, let us go and see the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. I hold that it is good to see the Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. The Brahmin student Jyotipala replied, Enough, my dear Ghatikara. What is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? And now the response says that Jyotipala doesn't want to see the Buddha, and he even says something like bald-pated recluse. Someone like a bald-headed. What's the use of seeing a bald-headed man? It's like enough, meaning they have been going, perhaps in the past, but Ghatikara wants to continue visiting. The second and third time, the potter Ghatikara said, My dear Jyotipala, let us go and see the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. I hold that it is good to see that Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. And second and third time, the Brahmin student Jyotipala replied, Enough, my dear Ghatikara, what is the use of seeing that bald-pated recluse? Then, my dear Jyotipala, let us take a bath powder and go to the river to bathe. Well, very well, Jyotipala replied. So the potter Ghatikara and the Brahmin student Jyotipala took a loofah and bath powder and went to the river to bathe. Then Ghatikara said to Jyotipala, My dear Jyotipala, there is the monastery of the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. quite nearby. Let us go and see the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. I hold that it is good to see that Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. And Jyotipala again says, enough, my dear Ghatikara, and gave the same response. And second and third time, my dear Jyotipala, there is the monastery and so and so. But Jyotipala again replies, I'm not going. Then the potter Ghatikara seized the Brahmin student Jyotipala by the belt and says, like, Ghatikara grabbed him. My dear Jyotipala, there is the monastery of the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, quite nearby. Let us go and see the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. This time his voice raised and he insists. This is like the peak of spiritual companionship, that you truly want your friend to go. and it's this time forcing, like a little bit force applied. I hold that it is good to see the Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. Then the Brahmin student Jyotipala undid his belt and said, so he removed the belt and said, enough, my dear Ghatikara, what is the use of seeing him? Then when the Brahmin student Jyotipala had washed his head, the potter Ghatikara seized him by the hair and said, now grabbing by hair, my dear Jyotipala, there is a monastery of the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, quite nearby. Let us go and see the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. I hold that it is good to see that Blessed One, accomplished and fully enlightened. Then the Brahmin student Jyotipala thought, it is wonderful, it is marvelous that this potter Ghatikara, who is of an inferior birth, should presume to seize me by the hair when we have washed our heads. Surely this can be no simple matter. Now, friends do things to friends, but when you are confronted like this, the inferiority and superiority comes to the head of Jyotipala. Jyotipala is a Brahmin and Ghatikara is a business person. And when you put them in caste order, Brahmins are the advisors to the king, so they are superior. They are superior than the kings. Then comes the business people, then the rulers, the farmers, and all of them, who apparently become kings and rule because they own lands. And people report land-related problems to the king, and that way they become kings. They are appointed by people. But in this case, Jyotipala thinks, it must not be for any simple matter that my friend Ghatikara, when I have just washed my hair, he earlier grabbed me from my belt, now he's grabbing me, he's seizing me from my newly washed hair. You go. So he said to Ghatikara, you go as far as this, my dear Ghatikara. I go as far as this, my dear Jyotipala. For so much do I hold that it is good to see that Blessed One accomplished. So, like he's asking me, you did this to me? And Ghatikara says, of course I did this to you because it's good for you. In the end, he says, then, my dear Ghatikara, let go of me, release me, let us visit him. We will go together. So Ghatikara, the potter, so the designation potter also suggests that he's doing his business. He's kind of, but Jyotipala doesn't have that kind of designation because he's a Brahmin person. So Ghatikara, the potter, and Jyotipala, the Brahmin student, went to the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. Ghatikara, after paying homage to him, sat down at one side while Jyotipala exchanged greetings with him. So Ghatikara really did the prostration, like veneration, real prostration. Um, but Jyotipala only said hi. And when this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he too sat down at one side. Ghatikara then said to the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, Venerable Sir, this is the Brahmin student Jyotipala. He is my friend. He is my close friend. Let the Blessed One teach him the Dhamma. Now, this is an invitation to teach. Then the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, instructed, urged, roused, and gladdened Ghatikara, the potter, and Jyotipala, the Brahmin student, with an exposition of the Dhamma. At the conclusion of the exposition, now look, the series of words here. We have the series of words. The Buddha instructed, urged, roused the mind, and gladdened Ghatikara and Jyotipala. So Dhamma talk does that to somebody's mind. The Buddhas are able to make people happy by giving Dhamma talks. At the conclusion of the Dhamma talk, having delighted and rejoiced in the Blessed One Kassapa's words, they rose from their seats. And after paying homage to the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, keeping him on their right, they departed. So keeping him on their right, they departed. This shows that right hand side is the hand you use for eating most of the time. Most people do that. So that's also the hand that you use. You show that side to Buddhas or shrines when you circumambulate around the shrines. Like if you visit Anuradhapura and you visit the Ruangveli Sire Pagoda, people circumambulate to the right, keeping the right hand side to the shrine. So they go that way. And you rarely see someone who goes the other way around because people are aware that you show respect to the shrine only this way. So let's see what happened next. Then Jyotipala asked Ghatikara, now that you have heard this Dhamma, my dear Ghatikara, why don't you go forth from the home life into homelessness? Now this is an interesting thing. Earlier, Jyotipala didn't want to go, but now Jyotipala is the one who is asking this question from Ghatikara, like, why don't you become a monk? And my dear Jyotipala, don't you know that I support my blind and aged parents? Then, my dear Ghatikara, I shall go forth from the home life into homelessness. This is a remarkable change from who he was before. Now, Ghatikara has blind and aged parents. Jyotipala doesn't have that kind of a burden. He says, then you stay, I will become a monk. So the Dhamma talk was so powerful enough that Jyotipala wanted to become a monk. And Jyotipala also wanted his friend to become monks. This happens, husbands and wife renounce and become monks, friends and friends together, they become monks. They all agree to the teachings and they are convinced that this is what they want to do. So Ghatikara, the potter, and Jyotipala, the Brahmin student, went to the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. After paying homage to him, they sat down at one side, and Ghatikara, the potter, said to the Blessed One, Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. Venerable Sir, this is the Brahmin student Jyotipala, my friend, my close friend. Let the Blessed One give him the going forth. Going forth here means the ordination, giving robes. And the Brahmin student Jyotipala received the going forth from the Blessed One, meaning Jyotipala became a monk and received the full admission. Also received his Upasampada, meaning he's now not a novice monk, he's a fully ordained monk who keeps to the rules and conduct properly, who observe celibacy. Then, not long after Jyotipala, the Brahmin student, had received the full admission, a half month after he had received the full admission, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, having stayed at Vebalinga as long as he chose, set out to wander towards Benares. Wandering by stages, he eventually arrived at Benares, and there he went to live in the deer park at Isipatana. So even during the past Buddha's time, Isipatana has been there. Now, King Kiki of Kasi. So there was a king named Kiki in Kasi. Kasi is the town, the country. It seems that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, has reached Benares and is living in the deer park at Isipatana. So this is a king. So he had a number of state carriages made ready, and mounting a state carriage, drove out from Benares with the full pomp of royalty in order to see the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. Now this is very significant that this king comes with all kinds of stuff, full of carriage, full carts to offer to the Buddha. He went thus far as the road was passable for carriages, and then he got down from his carriage and went forward on foot to the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened. After paying homage to him, he sat down at one side, and the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, instructed, urged, roused, and gladdened King Kiki of Kasi with an exposition of the Dhamma. So the Buddha Kassapa gave a talk to the king Kiki. At the conclusion of the exposition, King Kiki of Kasi said, "Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One, together with the Sangha of Bhikkhus, consent to accept tomorrow's meal from me." So the king invites the Buddha Kassapa and the monks to have a meal at the king's place. And the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, accepted in silence. So the Buddha accepted it. Then, knowing that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, had accepted, he rose from his seat, and after paying homage to him, keeping him on his right, he departed. So we get all the details of how they departed and what they did. We don't get the talk the Buddha Kassapa gave. That's unfortunate, but we get other details. Then when the night had ended, King Kiki of Kasi had good food of various kinds prepared in his own dwelling. Red rice stored in the sheaf with the dark grains picked out, along with many sauces and curries, and he had the time announced to the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, thus, "It is time, Venerable Sir, the meal is ready." So usually when the meal is prepared, they go and tell the Buddha, "Now the meal is ready, please come." Then it being morning, it was the morning, The Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, dressed and taking his bowl and outer robe, he went with the Sangha of bhikkhus to the dwelling of King Kiki of Kasi and sat down on the seat made ready. Then with his own hands, King Kiki of Kasi served and satisfied the Sangha of bhikkhus, headed by the Buddha, with the various kinds of good food. Now the king himself served the Buddha. When the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, had eaten and had put his bowl aside, King Kiki of Kasi took a low seat, sat down at one side, and said, Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One accept from me a residence for the rains in Benares. There will be such service to the Sangha. Now, the king wants the Buddha to stay in Benares. And the king says, I will look after the monks. But what did he get in response? The Buddha said, Enough, king, my residence for the rains has been already arranged. He says, Enough, king, my residence for the rains has already been provided for. Now, the king is the most powerful man, but already somebody else has taken care of Buddha's rains invitation. The second and third time, King Kiki of Kasi said, Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One accept from me a residence for the rains in Benares. That will be helpful for the Sangha. Enough, king, my residence for the rains has already been provided for. The king thought, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, does not accept from me a residence for the rains in Benares, and he was very disappointed and sad. Now, it is the tradition that when the rain season comes, monks stay in one place without traveling anywhere. And the king tried to take that opportunity to look after the Buddha and monks. He knew that it will benefit him and it will benefit many other people. And this is the Vasana invitation the king was trying to make, and the Buddha was refusing to accept. Then he said, Venerable Sir, have you a better supporter than I am? Like you have a better one? Like I'm a king. You have a better supporter than me? I have, great king. There is a market town called Webelinga, where a potter named Ghatikara lives. He is my supporter, my chief supporter. Now, you, great king, thought the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, does not accept from me a residence for the rains in Benares. And you were very disappointed and sad, but the potter Ghatikara is not and will not be so. Now, this is talking about Ghatikara's state of mind. The Buddha is aware that Ghatikara is someone who has attained an anagami state of a non-returner. He has at least a Sakadagami, not Anagami. A Sakadagami person. Sakadagami person only comes once to this earth, and their what is it? Tanha, Kamaraga, and Patiga are lessened. Lessened in the sense that they are lower. Maybe he is also on the path towards Anagami, in which he is working on not getting angry at all, that he doesn't have attachments. So those who don't have attachments don't have any reasons to get angry, to get disappointed, even for such a thing as inviting the Buddha to stay, and the Buddha does not accept the invitation, and you don't get upset over it. But the king, having the king's level of ego, the power, he thought the Buddha would accept his invitation. But when the Buddha did not, he was disappointed. And the Buddha is praising Ghatikara, saying, he's my chief supporter, and if I refused his invitation, he will not be upset. Now the Buddha is trying to teach a point to the king Kiki. The potter Ghatikara has gone for refuge to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. He abstains from killing living beings, from taking what is not given, from misconduct in sensual pleasures, from false speech, and from wine, liquor, and intoxicants, which are the basis of negligence. He has unwavering confidence in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. So unwavering confidence, what do you think is unwavering confidence? Is. Any response to this? I forgot to ask questions actually.
So one.
Yeah. So you say it is so one?
Yes, sir.
What is the meaning of unwavering? Steve?
There's no vichikicha kind of thing.
Yeah, no doubt. No vichikicha.
Unwavering.
So confidence, what is the Pali word for confidence?
Sorry.
What is the Pali word for faith?
Shraddha.
Right. Thank you. Shraddha is the Pali word for confidence. Now, unwavering confidence here refers to saddha that does not change, not amolika saddha, because you see, it came right after saying, he has unwavering confidence in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Now, this is about triple gem. And what Buddhists are supposed to have is confidence towards, saddha towards, and the type of saddha that is required is unwavering confidence. That is, that does not change. It is not fake. It is unchangeable, very, very, very stable faith. So let's take it that way. And the response that Sovan is unwavering confidence, I think that is also correct. Because those who have attained the stream entry, Sovan, Sotapanna state, they do have unwavering confidence. So Ghatikara is a special student and he's ready to become a monk, but the only problem he has is that he has his blind and aged parents. So if they were not there, he would have already become a monk. And that kind of a person is praised even by the Buddha Kassapa. Right? So let's continue on and find out more about him. So he possesses the virtues loved by noble ones. Now, this is the virtues, the sila, loved by the noble ones, Arya Kanta Sila. So Arya Kanta Sila is translated into English as this Ghatikara has kind of sila, kind of virtues loved by the noble ones, Aryas. Aryans love that kind of sila. So it's such a big praise to Ghatikara. Virtues loved by noble ones. And the Buddha continues to talk about Ghatikara. He is free from doubt about suffering, about the origin of suffering, about the cessation of suffering and about the way leading to the cessation of suffering. Now, this says that he does not doubt about it. He surely knows the Four Noble Truths. This is much better in a way. It's comparing to his understanding to that of the king. The king might not have had this kind of understanding. If he did, the Buddha would not praise Ghatikara in front of the king. And look, this gets more intense. Ghatikara eats only one meal a day. This is a conduct similar to a monk. He observes celibacy. Celibate means you are a brahmachari person. There is no sexual things done by him. He observes celibacy. He is virtuous. He is of good character. He has laid aside gems and gold. He has given up gold and silver. He does not dig the ground for clay with a pick or with his own hands, meaning he doesn't do any harm to any being. He does not. He is very much at peace. He doesn't strive in digging the earth for anything. What has broken off river banks or is thrown up by rats, he brings home in a carrier. When he has made a pot, he says, so what has broken off river banks? So when there are small landslides in river banks, he brings it home to make pots. Or thrown up by rats, when he sees a pile of soil thrown up by rats when they are digging the ground, he uses that kind of soil to make pots. So he was very careful. He knew that if he went on digging the ground, it would kill those animals. So he didn't want to do that. He was practicing sila to that level. He brings home in a carrier. When he has made a pot, he says, let anyone who likes set down some selected rice or selected beans or selected lentils, and let him take away whatever he likes. So he uses his skill. He makes pots, and he says, please put some beans for my use, some rice for my use, for my parents, and take away these pots. Pots are useful to you. Take them, but just, I don't need money. Just put take some of the pots I have made for you, and in exchange, leave some rice for me. He doesn't have to stay there to sell anything. He just gets it from people. He's like living like a saint. He supports his blind and aged parents, having destroyed the 5 lower fetters. So 5 lower fetters, what are those? Lower fetters. We have 10 fetters. From the 10, yes, go ahead. Let's begin with Sakkaya Ditthi.
Sakkaya Ditthi, Vichikicha, Silabata Paramasa,
Kamaraga and Patiga, right?
Kamaraga,
So these 5 are lower fetters, right?
Amaraga Patiga.
And why are they lower fetters?
because still the
Oram Bhagya. So the word Ora, it has a meaning. Oram Bhagya Sanyojana, that is the Pali word for lower fetters. And they bring us lower. Now look at them in English. Sakkaya Ditthi is the attachment to a self, it brings us into an illusion that this is me, this is mine, this is myself. And that doesn't give us any freedom to think beyond and have any wisdom beyond that. Vichikicca, doubt. You doubt, your doubt keeps you from awakening. You doubt the Dhamma, you doubt the Buddha, and it goes on like that. And Silabbata Paramasa, having basically wrong faith, wrong kind of adherence, practices, standing on one foot, sleeping on spikes, these kind of practices. And you do them thinking that they lead you to liberation. And you become a follower of that kind of practice. And these are bringing you to, because you are fooled by them, these are lowering your ability to go higher. And then kamaraga, sensual desire, and patiga, aversion. These also, of course, when you see an angry person, they are in a lower place than everybody else. The moment you surrender to anger, you go down. So those are the fetters that he has. What did the Buddha say? He, having destroyed the 5 lower fetters, he is one who will reappear spontaneously and there attain final nibbana without ever returning from that world. So having destroyed the 5 lower fetters, he is one who will reappear in the pure abodes, Shuddhavasa. That is why the Buddha said he will reappear spontaneously, in brackets. They have in the pure abodes and then attain final nibbana without ever returning from that world. So pure abode is a place that is
Unreturnable.
that is for non-returners. So he is an anagami.
He's an anagami.
Yeah. And now, does this remind you of the question that anagamis have to be monks? But he is living like a monk, isn't he?
Yeah, he was living like, because he didn't eat after lunch.
He didn't.
He didn't touch
ate only
money.
one meal a day.
Yeah, he didn't. He practiced celibacy.
Ate one meal a day.
He ate only 1 meal a day, and he did not dig the earth. He did not do any of those things.
He was
And didn't
Isn't that the case that arahants have to be monks or else they will pass away within 7 days, right?
There's a story like that, yeah.
Yeah. But it seems like Ghatikara is not an arahant yet, right? So that way he stays looking after his parents, and upon his passing away, he will reappear spontaneously in the pure abodes, in a place where he spontaneously appears. That's how the sutra says, without saying pure abodes. And there he attains final enlightenment. So if he was an arahant, he has also destroyed 5 higher fetters, Uddhambhagya Sanyojana. What are those?
Uparaga, Aruparaga, Kama, Uddacha, Mana, Uddacha, Avicca.
Right. Ruparaga, attachment to forms. What kind of attachment is that? That is the jhanas, because rupa jhanas, form jhanas. And aruparaga, what kind of attachment is that? Arupa is formless jhanas, like infinite space, akasananchayatane, infinite consciousness, vinyananchayatane, nothingness, akinchanayatane, neither perception nor non-perception, neva sanya, na sanyayate. So there could be some people who are attached to these when you develop them. And these are states that are higher, keeping one's mind in a higher place. And mana is conceit, uddhacha is restlessness, and avijja is complete ignorance that will be destroyed by the time you become, well, someone who has avijja and who has already attained an anagami. That kind of a person only has avijja that keeps him from becoming an arahant. So he is not like others who have destroyed, who have not, who, well, I'm sorry. He's not like the ordinary mind. His mind is not like an ordinary mind, which is full of ignorance. That kind of ordinary mind has not even let go of any 5 lower fetters, Oram Bhagya Sanyojana, and let alone destroying the 5 higher fetters, Uddam Bhagya Sanyojana. If anyone can get that kind of a praise from a Buddha or anybody, that is the highest praise one can get, isn't it? It's a very big praise. Now, the Buddha Kassapa goes into a story. On one occasion, when I was living at Vebalinga, it was the morning, I dressed and taking my bowl and outer robe, I went to the potter Ghatikara's parents and asked them, "Where has the potter gone, please? Where is Ghatikara?" "Venerable sir, your supporter has gone out. But take rice from the cauldron and sauce from the saucepan and eat." So blind parents cannot serve the Buddha, but Buddha can see. Potter was away, and the Buddha just asked where he is, and parents say he just went away for some matter, but take our rice and have some. And the Buddha is saying, I did so and went away. I just had some food. Then the potter Ghatikara went to his parents and asked, "Who has taken rice from the cauldron and sauce from the saucepan, eaten and gone away?" So this was the food he had prepared for himself. And Ghatikara was not angry. Ghatikara just asked, "Who has eaten it?" And the parents said, "My dear, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, did. He is the one who had your food." Then the potter Ghatikara thought, "It is a gain for me." Such a gain, it's a benefit, it is a gain. It is a great gain for me that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, has so much trust in me. This is the kind of love that you can't have in the world. And rapture and happiness never left him for a half month. For his parents, for a week. Parents were happy for 1 week. And this man, Ghatikara, was really like that happiness he felt. It didn't leave him for how long? For half a month. He was so happy that without him knowing, the Buddha came and had his food. He was so happy. On another occasion, when I was living at Vebalinga, it was the morning, I dressed and taking my bowl and outer robe, I went to the potter Ghatikara's parents and asked them, "Where has the potter gone, please? Venerable sir, your supporter has gone out, but take some porridge from the vessel and sauce from the saucepan and eat." I did so and went away. Then the potter Ghatikara went to his parents and asked, "Who has taken the porridge from the vessel and sauce from the saucepan, eaten and gone away?" "My dear, the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, he did." Then the potter Ghatikara thought, "It is a gain for me. It is a great gain for me. The Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, has so much trust in me, and rapture and happiness never left him for a month, or his parents for a week," just like before. On another occasion, when I was living at Webelinga, my hut leaked. Then I addressed the bhikkhus thus: "Go, bhikkhus, and find out if there is any grass at the potter Ghatikara's house." "Venerable sir, there is no grass at the potter Ghatikara's house. There is the grass thatch over his workshop. Go, bhikkhus, and remove the grass from the potter Ghatikara's workshop." His workshop is the place where he had shelter under which he made his pots. And definitely, when you work with clay, he needed a shelter to keep, to protect his pots. But the Buddha Kassapa's hut was leaking. And what did he do? He asked the monks to go get the tiles from the roof, the thatched roof, not the tiles like we have nowadays, but those things, the thatched roof had the grass that is used to cover the roof. I had my roof like that when I was small. Go, bhikkhus, and go there and see if there is grass at the potter Ghatikara's house. And the monk said, "Venerable sir, there is no grass at the potter Ghatikara's house. There is the grass thatch over his workshop. There is no grass at his house, but there is grass over his workshop. Go, monks, and remove the grass from the potter Ghatikara's workshop." They did so. Then the potter Ghatikara's parents asked the bhikkhus, "Who is removing the grass from the workshop?" "Sister, the hut of the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, is leaking. Take it, venerable sirs, take it, dear ones." So their son was away. They just wanted to make sure that they know who's taking the stuff from the workshop, the roof, and they also allow it. Then the potter Ghatikara went to his parents and asked, "Who has removed the grass from the workshop?" "The bhikkhus did, my dear. The hut of the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, is leaking." Then the potter Ghatikara thought, "It is a gain for me. It is a great gain for me that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, has so much trust in me, and the rapture and happiness never left him for a half month, or his parents for a week." Then that workshop remained 3 whole months with the sky for a roof, and yet no rain came in. Such is the potter Ghatikara. This is a miracle. And only that kind of a virtuous person was able to witness that kind of a miracle, that even though the walls were open to the sky, no rain came down. And it says in the commentary that no rain will come down and wet that place where Ghatikara's house was, the workshop was, for this whole eon. For this whole eon, there will not be any rain coming down and wetting that very place. It's added by the commentary. It is a gain for the potter Ghatikara. It is a great gain for him that the Blessed One Kassapa, accomplished and fully enlightened, relies on him thus. Then King Kiki of Kasi dispatched to the potter Ghatikara 500 cartloads of red rice stored in the sheaf, and also source materials to go with it. Then the king's men went to the potter Ghatikara and told him, Venerable sir, there are 500 cartloads of red rice stored in the sheaf, and also source materials to go with it, dispatched to you by King Kiki of Kasi. Please accept them. The king is very busy and has much to do. And what do you think happened here? What did Ghatikara do?
Maybe send it back.
Right. You know the story, right?
I think I have heard it, yeah.
Right. So what he did was, he said, I have enough. Let this be for the king himself. Now the king had faith in Ghatikara, just as he had faith in the Buddha. So this is very interesting that Ghatikara didn't accept all that, although he had invited the Buddha to spend the rains for 3 months. And he did need, of course, he might have needed the rice and stuff. Maybe he had enough because people buy, it's not really buying. People get his pots and leave rice and grains in exchange. And of course, when it is a noble person, people do want to look after that kind of a person. So when he's inviting the Buddha and monks, definitely other people are also making it an opportunity to look after the Buddha and the monks, and to somewhat decline the offer made by the king. This is kind of unusual, rather unusual for an ordinary person, but he's an extraordinary person. He's very confident in his actions that he declined the offer.
And he probably wanted to give from his effort rather than somebody else's,
That's true. He wanted to do it himself. I made the invitation and I will look after it, right? I can do it. Right. Now, Ananda, you may think thus. Certainly someone else was the Brahmin student Jyotipala on that occasion. But it should not be regarded thus. I was the Brahmin student Jyotipala on that occasion. Can you believe it? Jyotipala is now you know the reason why the Buddha had that smile, right? I was stubborn, I was mischievous, I was an egoistic Brahmin student, and I did not want to go see the Buddha Kassapa. And it was this potter, Ghatikara, and Buddha Kassapa is praising Ghatikara there. And Ghatikara is such a confident man that he kind of grabbed his friend and kind of almost threatened to his friend, you must go see the Buddha. And it is our Gautama Buddha who was strongly objecting to the idea of going to see that past Buddha. I'm amazed by this every time I read this story. That is what the Blessed One said. The Venerable Ananda was satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So, now you know the whole story.
There is something over there in the story that's saying there is a shrine, the Kassapa Buddha shrine was there during our Buddha's time, closer to Todaya. That's what it says in the Sutta.
I read the full sutra though with you now. Maybe it is found in a different Ghatikara sutra, because it's likely that there could be, because he's such a notable person, and there could be other sutras. I didn't look though. So the Buddha Kassapa's shrine was there at the time of our Buddha, 2500 years ago. And what is the relationship with Todei?
It is close to Todeya. I don't know what is.
Todeya is also.
And the people didn't know about it is Buddha Kassapa shrine, but they were giving some respect to that shrine. It is a stupa. And then anyway, the Gautama Buddhas has said, this is the Kassapa Buddha's stupa.
Let me find Todeya. He was a Mahasala Brahmin mentioned in a list of eminent Brahmins gathered together at Icha, Nankala and Manasa Kata. There was in Chandala Kappa a mango grove belonging to the Todeya Brahmins. The Todeya Brahmana was also the owner of the mango grove, not grave, at Kamanda. The Anguttara Nikaya mentions the pupils of Todeya Brahmin speaking ill of Aleya because the latter followed the teachings of Ramagupta. Todeya, a disciple of Bavari, he visited the Buddha, and his questions with the answers given by the Buddha are given in the Todeya Manavaka Pucca. Todeya Manava Pucca. That's all I find, no reference to Buddha Kassapa. If we look at Buddha Kassapa, there should be tons of stories coming up. The present Kalpa is called Mahabhadra Kalpa, Great Auspicious Eon. The 5 Buddhas of the present Kalpa are, I thought it is 7, Kakusanda, Konagamana, Kassapa, Gautama, and Maitreya. So Maitreya will be born within this year. The stupa of Buddha Kassapa. There was initially a great difference of opinion on what should be the size of the stupa and of what material it should be built. Construction of the stupa was begun after these issues were finally settled, but then the citizens found they lacked sufficient funds to complete the stupa. An Anagami devotee named Soratha traveled throughout Jambudvipa requesting money from the people for the completion of the stupa. He sent the money as he received it, and on hearing that the work was completed, he set out to go and worship the stupa. However, he was seized by robbers and murdered in the forest, which later came to be known as the Andhavana. Upavana, in a previous birth, became the guardian deity of the stupa, hence its great majesty in his last life. This is in Digha Nikaya Atthakatha. For another story of the building of the shrine, see the Dhammapada Atthakatha. Among the 37 goddesses noticed by the Guttila when he visited heaven was one who had offered scented 5 spray at the stupa. Alatha offered Aneja flowers and obtained a happy rebirth. The cause of Mahakashapa's golden complexion was his gift of a golden brick to the building of Kassapa's shrine. At the same stupa, Anuruddha, who was then a householder in Varanasi, offered butter and molasses in brass bowls, which were placed without any interval around the stupa. it doesn't say whether it stays at this at our Buddha Gotama's time, but it's quite possible because he belongs to the same eon, same kalpa. And I had something else to share about Ghatikara. Ghatikara is also a great Brahma. In the time of the Kassapa Buddha, he was our saint. So he is now a Brahma. He was a potter of Vehalinga. Now it's not Vebalinga, now it is Vehalinga. Looking after his blind parents, he was a very pious and devoted follower of the Buddha, ministering to him better than anyone else. And the Buddha accepted his invitation in preference to that of the king of Benares. It is said that now the king of Kiki, Kasi, it is said that when the Buddha was in need of anything, he would go to Ghatikara's house and take it, whether he was at home or not. So great was his confidence in Ghatikara's piety. Once the Ghatikara was absent, the people at the Buddha's suggestion took away the thatch from his house to roof the hut of Tathagata. For 3 months, Ghatikara's house remained open to the sky, but no rain fell on it. So great was his faith. According to the Nalapana Jataka, no rain will ever fall on the site of Ghatikara's house as long as this kappa lasts. The Bodhisattva, who at the time of Ghatikara was a young Brahmin named Jyotipala, was the friend of Ghatikara but had no faith in the Buddha, and Ghatikara, having failed to persuade him to visit the Buddha, in the end took him by force. Jyotipala was converted and joined the order, but Ghatikara, as the only support of his parents, could not renounce the world. Kiki, the king of Benares, having heard of his virtues from Kassapa Buddha, sent him 500 cartloads of choice rice, etc. But Ghatikara returned the gift, saying that he had plenty for himself. After death, Ghatikara was born as a Mahabrahma in the Aviha Brahma world and an Anagami. He was evidently already a Sakadagami before his death, but he did not wish his attainments to be known. He provided the Buddha with the 8 requisites of a monk when the Buddha, having left the world, decided to lead the life of a bhikkhu. The begging bowl, then provided by him, vanished. So 8 requisites is Atapirikara. He provided the Buddha with the 8 requisites for a monk when the Buddha, having left the world, decided to lead the life of a bhikkhu, meaning the Buddha wanted to wander as a monk. The begging bowl, then provided by him, vanished when the Buddha was given a bowl of milk rice by Sujata. I don't know which Sujata this is. This could be the Sujata, the millionaire's daughter. According to the Samyutta Nikaya, Ghatikara visited the Buddha sometime after the enlightenment, and the Buddha reminded him of their former friendship. So this is Ghatikara visiting the current Buddha. Ghatikara on that occasion speaks of 7 others besides Jyotipala who had been his friends in Vehalinga. So he had Upaka, Palaganda, Pukkusati, Bhaddiya, Khandadeva, Bahuraggi, and Pingya. They had listened to the Buddha's teachings and after death were born in the Aviha world, where he himself was. In this context, the Buddha addressed him as Bhaggava. These are very interesting things about someone who is praised by the Buddha Kassapa and that he is born in the Aviha Brahma world and came to see his former friend who became the Buddha. This is talking about spiritual friendship, the best of it, that you put your friend in the right track, and in the end, he is one day the Buddha helping us. Think about that. It is this Buddha. So that's what I wanted to share. Any questions before I close?
We all need friends like that.
Absolutely. And tell me more about it. Where can we find? Where can we buy? How expensive, how much is it to buy a friend like that?
You can't buy them.
You can't buy them, it's impossible. Money fails. All the banks in the world fail. Even the king could not really do anything about it, right?
What I was thinking, Bante, even the Bodhisattva who going to be the Buddha in the future time,
yeah,
he got misguided. So how in the samsara, how dangerous it is. That's what I was thinking.
Excellent point. He was misguided because he was born into Brahmin caste and was a Brahmin student. And that way he must have believed that he will unite the Maha Brahma like he was believing in Brahma Sahavyata, like sometimes people teach that you will be born in heaven after death and you will unite with your family. So when you have been taught something like that, when you believe it, you are misguided. And that kind of misguidance can be so strong, and nobody's sometimes ready to change it, and it is very dangerous to a person.
Yeah, so he was going to be the Buddha, so he is strong, had the possibility to go in the right direction. But for somebody somebody like me, so what would happen to me in that case? That's what I was thinking.
Absolutely. Me also.
Hamadurine, that the Ghatikara Sutta, what I was saying, the sutta was repeated at the shrine near the Todaya, which was being worshipped by the people without their knowing its significance. The Buddha related the sutta and explained that the shrine was the stupa of Kassapa Buddha. It is saying in the Wisdom Library.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So it is this sutra that we discussed, right?
Yes, that is Ghatikara Sutta.
Oh.
And the Ghatikara Sutta, then Ghatikara Mahabrahma, to the Buddha, he came to the Jetavana and the ensuring.
Please read the whole thing.
Oh, the Ghatikara Sutta preached during the tour in Kosala. The Buddha turned off the main road and became to the spot which had once been Vehalinga. He smiled, being asked by Ananda the reason for his smile. The Buddha related to him and to the monk the story of Ghatikara, the potter of Vehalinga. He, as given above, it is said that the Buddha wished to make known to the monks that great piety of Ghatikara. The sutta was repeated at the shrine near the Todaya, which was being worshipped by the people without their knowing its significance. The Buddha related the sutta and explained that the shrine was the stupa of Kassapa Buddha.
Amazing. Yeah.
Swaminwasa, I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One is, you had mentioned that Ghatikara, he didn't want to collect any soil. He only collected soil which was taken out by rats or had gone, gone through a landslide. Was his intention not to harm any animal?
Yes, obviously he knew that he could have taken soil from any place, just any suitable ground. By doing that would harm those insects, those who live in those places. He didn't want to do that.
So in today's context, when we try to explain something like that, people may argue and say, what about, beings that are invisible? And for us as human beings, we do this kind of like gardening and digging soil, but our intention is not to kill any animals. So how does that apply to us in today's context?
So you are like Ghatikara before Ghatikara became who he is. It's a change that happened in him because of Buddha Kassapa. And before that, he might have done all these things. He used gold, and he used gold. He did dig the ground, and he was quite successful with the skill he had. But at this point, upon listening to the teachings, he changed his attitude, perspective towards everything, which made him do these things. And some people, in terms of gardening, all that, in Parama Avihinsavada, which is talking about absolute non-harming to any beings, they went into the extreme of sweeping the ground as they walked. These are the Mahavira disciples, Nikantanatha and his son and the followers. They still do that. They also, instead of drinking regular warm water, they started boiling it. At that point, they were unaware that boiling would actually kill those beings. And the Buddha then introduced the middle path, because we all can't live like that. With those beings whom you cannot see, there's no your intention of harming them. Your intention matters. Chetana is the karma. Therefore, it is hard for you to produce a karma unless your perspective about harming them affects you. In which case, you will also abstain from harming those other beings who are invisible. I think choosing a celibate monastic life is quite close to abstaining from any harming and resorting into something like loving kindness that includes all beings, Dittava Yeva Additta, those you have seen and unseen. This is based in the Metta Sutra.
Yeah.
So we can do that, but it doesn't mean that it is impossible. At one point, you can stop gardening, right? You can stop digging the ground, and you can be skillful like the potter and make something creative and ask people to take it. And in exchange, ask something from them, something that is just enough for you to live. And we all become Ghatikaras at the end of our life. If we are truly conscious on it, what people do is they write your will. You can't take anything. At least at that point, you have the understanding that at a certain point, you are leaving this earth. But if you had a virtuous life like Ghatikara, I think that is the highest wealth that you take with you. Other than writing your will, because sometimes those who write the will don't have any virtues at all. So when I say we all become Ghatikaras, in some sense that we become people bedridden, at which point we cannot do any harm to any beings, stop digging the ground. But Ghatikara did it on purpose. he had the intention of abstaining from all of the wrongdoings that he could abstain from. So that way the goal is to become him now than becoming a part of him when we are nearing the end of our life. That opens a whole other discussion because we don't know when our life ends. It could be this week. And we are no way closer to Ghatikara, at least. Very nice questions. So I'm grateful that you all joined and I was able to read it together and bring it back to my mind. Any more questions?
When it comes to Ghatikara, he doesn't accept money. So the way he trading is exchanging goods. That is what I heard.
Yes, he doesn't get money. He says, leave some goods and I will use that for myself. He's not doing business there. He might have done business before that. That is why it said that he laid down gold and silver, that he had them and then he let go of them.
And just a lighter note, since we had mentioned about the pagoda of Lord Kassapa Buddha, at that time what I heard was there's only one pagoda, unlike the Gotama Sasana.
Oh, must be very significant, right? And we just read that there was a gold brick offered by somebody, and that person is born in heaven because of that. So yeah, nowadays we have pagodas everywhere. In Sri Lanka, every year some pagodas, really huge pagodas are being opened. A lot of people support that kind of thing. And you can tell that, I think for many, many lifetimes, people must have been doing that kind of work. That is why they want to do it. Even, my friend monk having, he has a temple in Gotama, and he doesn't want to build a pagoda there. He has other needs. But this wealthy woman says, I only want to build a pagoda in this place. I don't want to support in any other thing. But Allah, if you don't allow me to build a pagoda, I will not do it. It's that kind of strong wish some people have. They have the money to build it and they want to do it, but they don't want to do other things. So we do live in a pagoda culture now. At least, if you go to Myanmar, my goodness, all those small pagodas you see, an ocean of white pagodas. And under those, you have the Tipitaka inscriptions in stone, preserved. So it's a beautiful, and if you haven't been there, please go. And people are so faithful, and it's a different experience. I felt like this must have been the kind of Buddhism we had about 50 years ago. Of course, in 50 years ago, we had British. Not really. It's 100 years ago. I felt like this is the ancient Buddhism we had in Sri Lanka that they have in Myanmar, except some changes. Like you can see smoking monks on streets, like smoking not cigars, those tobacco smoking monks, squatting and smoking, and those are like rare scenes, but it just seems like people are not bothered with it. That's a common thing. But that's an unrelated, something unrelated. Yeah, it's interesting that that kind of one pagoda lived up to Buddha Gotama. That then makes us think about the time between the Buddha Kassapa and Buddha Gotama. I'm sure there are accounts on it, some details, and for a pagoda to remain that long, it definitely must have been built by stone. And no wonder people do have a wish of seeing future Buddha Maitreya, but there's no guarantee that you will see him unless you bring yourself closer to the Brahma Ghatikara. If you are able to see him and be his friend, he will say, okay, hold on, so and so Buddha will appear in so and so time, and you can see him and listen to his teachings and become an arahant. But that has to be, that requires you to be someone like Ghatikara, someone has Ghatikara virtues, and live a life like that, and also destroy the 5 lower fetters: Sakkaya Ditthi, Vicikicca, Silabbata, Paramasa, Kamaraga, Patika. To become a person who never gets angry, who doesn't have sensual attachments, and who let go of Sakkaya Ditthi, self-view, illusion of self, doubts, and also wrong practices. Challenge accepted? Nobody said yes. That's the point of discussing Dhamma, for us to be inspired.
But we can see the Buddha when we practice Dhamma, that's what it said, right?
That's what the Buddha Gotama said. You don't have to see my physical body. But people do have this strong wish that, oh, what if I, maybe I have seen the Buddha in the past. What if I am able to see him? I will answer all the questions we have. We are very fortunate in that way. At least we have the Dhamma, and we are seeing the Buddha through the type of Dhamma we practice and understand. So we are very grateful to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anyway, now the next bana is being prepared. May all heavenly beings rejoice in our good karma. With that, we will finish for today. Let's transfer merits. Akasattha cha bhummattha devanaga mahimika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakhantu sasanam chiran rakhantu desanam chiran rakhantu tvam sadati. So see you at 4 when Bhante Badhya joins. Bhante Sankitya will give the introduction, and the program will start at 4.